Welcome everyone to NCVLI's second RISE Project annual Facebook series. We are doing these during National Crime Victims' Rights Week. National Crime Victims' Rights Week is commemorated this week. So as you have probably seen, your feeds have been loaded with awareness and events and just incredible commemorations and acknowledgements of survivors, victims, and victims' rights. The 2022 NCVRW theme is Rights, Access, Equity for All Victims. And this year's theme really underscores the importance of helping crime survivors find their justice in three ways: by enforcing victims' rights, expanding access to services, and ensuring equity and inclusion for all. These are also very much in line with the mission and vision of the National Crime Victim Law Institute. So my name is Jennifer Storm. I am a consultant with NCVLI and so excited to have you with us today. We're going to be live today and again on Friday this week, really speaking with our partners across the country, including many of our RISE legal clinics, both past and present, to discuss this year's themes and the ways that our partners are really ensuring access, equity, and right for all victims. The National Crime Victim Law Institute fields thousands of technical assistance requests annually, and we encourage everyone to seek the expertise of this incredible think tank anytime you're facing challenges or concerns relating to asserting and enforcing victims' rights. NCVLI is always here to help. Drop an email, go onto the website, submit a form for technical assistance. They really have the knowledge, the education, the resources, and the time to dedicate to the issue that you have at hand so you can truly, fully ensure that that survivor or victim who's accessing or seeking to access services and rights has what they need at their fingertips. So today we are traveling to California, to the California Victims Resource Center, and we are thrilled to have Miriam El-Menshawi here with us today. And we're hoping to really have a rich discussion around equity and inclusion. So we want to really talk about underserved populations and talk about our BIPOC population. So we hear about this acronym and we're talking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, individuals who have historically high crime rates and experiences of crime, and often those that are marginalized by our system and that most frequently do not have equitable access to services. NCVLI obviously is very committed to legal representation and legal access. And this is one of those areas that we traditionally see such a barrier. So we're really excited, Miriam, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, so thank you. Hopefully the weather is good where you are. I can't imagine it's not.
It has been really, really nice this year. Thankfully, the heat has not hit yet, but I'm bracing myself for it.
Wonderful, great. Well, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Your organization just went through a name change. So tell us a little bit about you and your organization.
Yeah, so I've been with the California Victims Resource Center for 10 years now. And we operate a statewide hotline for crime victims, 1-800-VICTIMS, and we also operate a website. Our goal is to make sure that victims in California are aware of their legal rights, also known as their Marsy's Law rights, and we provide them with information about other rights as well. And that they're connected with resources that can best assist them as they're going through that process. We help victims of all crimes at all stages of the criminal justice system without any qualifying criteria. So we really want to make sure that victims are empowered as they're going through the process and that they leave the criminal justice system not feeling re-victimized, which unfortunately is the case sometimes. We also operate a legal center for Northern California, where we provide direct representation for crime victims.
Wonderful. So important, especially that direct victim representation, because it's not easy to find, and it can make or break a case, right? It can truly, really make or break any victim's experience. So thank you for the great work that you're doing. So talk to me a little bit about the challenges that you see that BIPOC survivors and victims face when trying to access legal services and legal justice.
Of course, that's a very important question, but I did want to first preface it by acknowledging that there's not one universal set of shared identities or experiences with these survivors. So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. However, there are some common factors that do create barriers for survivors that when they are trying to seek legal help. And I'm going to go through some of these factors, and please feel free to jump in if you have any questions. So of course, what we have seen is that sometimes culture and even religious beliefs can be a barrier and prevent survivors from leaving, for example, abusive relationships to seek help and to even communicate with legal service providers. So that's one big thing, is just a cultural and religious barrier. There's also a fear that the experience will negatively reflect on or confirm some of the stereotypes placed on that community or ethnicity. Many victims do live with fear of the impact of their family finding out that they were a victim, and some of the shame that that brings to not only themselves, but also their family. So the sense of being a victim, can be shameful in some cultures. However, sometimes that pressure to not report actually comes from family members in the community and friends. So they are afraid of being left out of the community if they do report and seek legal assistance. Some BIPOC victims fear reaching out for legal services due to concerns about legal status, either for the victim, and sometimes the victim's even concerned about the perpetrator's legal status. So that can be another barrier for seeking legal assistance. Of course, due to the economic disparities that some of the communities of color experience, survivors can struggle to find affordable and accessible legal support within their community. So this leads them to seek services outside of their community, where they face a situation where they're dealing with professionals who don't look like them and don't share their experience, which can be a challenge for them to have that trust relationship required in an attorney-client relationship. But I did want to highlight that even if they do reach out to agencies outside of their community, that about 85% of low-income Californians can't get legal help when they do need it. And this, of course, unfortunately, disproportionately affects BIPOC communities, which further perpetuates disparities within our legal system. Another barrier that we see is sometimes survivors have more pressing concerns. So, legal assistance is kind of the last thing on their mind, because what they're concerned about immediately is physical safety, paying their bills, navigating the public benefit system. So they're not even at a point where they're ready to seek legal services because they have all these other needs that they're dealing with. BIPOC victims, like all other victims, have a very difficult time navigating and dealing with numerous different cases, which is sometimes the case when somebody falls prey to victimization. So they may be a petitioner in a domestic violence restraining order case, and also dealing with a criminal case where they're a victim, and also possibly dealing with a pending immigration matter or a housing matter. So dealing with several different complex legal systems can be very overwhelming, and it can be very difficult for any layperson to navigate those processes. So that can lead some of them to just completely disengage and not seek help with what they need assistance with. And finally, and what I think may be most important, is that a lot of people in the BIPOC community may have experienced instances of interpersonal racism with law enforcement or other people in positions of power. They also may have experienced institutional racism by other governmental systems and even the legal system. And these experiences may cause them to distrust these institutions altogether, so to not even engage with them at all.
Those are all really good points. You mentioned, I want to drill down a little bit on the immigration status, right? Because I think that is such a wide barrier across the board. And so much of that is about disinformation, right? And so can you talk a little bit about, because I think most individuals don't realize that there are U visas out there, that compensation actually can be applied for and received regardless of status. So can you talk a little bit about maybe helping us educate survivors out there who may be concerned about their immigration status and that remains a barrier for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. I think there is a lot of misinformation out there and fear. So victims don't want to reach out for help because they're afraid that they'll get deported if they engage with the process at all. And that's not the case. As you mentioned, there are protections for victims. There's the U visa that's there to provide immigration relief for certain victims. the T visa that's there to provide immigration release for trafficking victims, and VAWA also there to provide assistance. So if you are a victim, please reach out to us or to any agency that provides legal services within your community to learn about what your options are. And that's one of the reasons that our hotline is confidential and anonymous. People don't have to give us their name. And a lot of people do just call because, oh, well, I heard that if I report this, that I can be arrested. Or I had a survivor call yesterday who was a victim of domestic violence. And she told me that she heard if she opens up her own bank account, that she'll get in trouble. That's what she had been told. So unfortunately, it's a tactic used by abusers to retain that power and control. So please, if you're told something, don't just outright believe it. Seek guidance from those in the legal services field, and we're there to help and support you in any way that we can.
And that confidentiality piece is so critical, just to get that baseline information to be able to make an informed decision that isn't shrouded in fear. If you know that that call is confidential, that support is confidential, that goes a long way to building trust, which is another significant barrier, right?
Yeah.
So do you think, we talked about a lot of barriers, do you feel that our field adequately understands the needs of BIPOC survivors, and what can we do to help facilitate that understanding?
So I think for the most part, we can do a better job to understand the needs of BIPOC survivors. As I mentioned, one size does not fit all. For victims in general, but specifically for victims within the BIPOC community, because there is a lot of diversity within those communities. So, each of the BIPOC communities has experienced different forms of violence throughout their histories. And as I mentioned, their histories are so diverse. So we need to do a better job to educate ourselves to ultimately understand their needs. And I think there's several things that we can do to facilitate this understanding. First of all, I think we need to make some effort to get to learn about the various BIPOC communities, reach out to the community groups, sit down with their leaders to learn about their needs, and see how we can assist them in meeting their legal needs, right? We should meet our victims where they are, not where we think they are. So I think that's the first good step. Second, I think we should really put some focus on training. So increase trainings for agencies on implicit bias, racial justice, anti-racism within our agencies, and also focus trainings on trauma-informed care, and then do regular cultural sensitivity training, because we do have changes in staffing, et cetera. So even if you got your staff trained at one point, you want to continue that and make sure that people are familiar with these issues and are being mindful as they're providing services.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important to speak to your community, speak to the population you're trying to serve. There's a reason they're not coming to your door. So, going to their door and asking those questions, building those collaborations and partnerships it goes a long way. So you're in California. What unique needs and challenges are you seeing BIPOC survivors facing in your respective area?
So I can speak for the whole state or my region specifically. Here in Northern California, we do have a huge refugee community. So I'll talk a little bit about their needs because I'm hoping that helps people kind of understand some of the challenges that these survivors face as they're accessing services. So of course, there's a language barrier, right, that these victims have, as well as cultural barriers. So they have a difficult time understanding what services are available and then accessing services. And then if you're talking about the legal system, which is very difficult even for somebody who is a native speaker to navigate, it becomes an even more complex system. There's a lot of fear and distrust of police, not only for the refugee community, but I think for a lot of BIPOC communities as well. And I think that's been highlighted. The reason for that's been highlighted right over the past few years. And we're on the path to reform. But I think, these things need to be acknowledged because we need to understand that people are afraid to reach out to law enforcement. There is that distrust to law enforcement, and that can be based on experiences that they've had here in their home country, or if they're refugees, then from, the countries of origin where they came from. So a lot of times they don't reach out to law enforcement because of that. Or if there is a victim who's considering reaching out to law enforcement, that's used as a way to scare him or her from reaching out, oh, well, remember, you're going to get in trouble, etc. And that takes us to that family pressure, right, that we talked about earlier. We want to keep it within the family. We want to keep it within the community. We don't want to involve other systems in our problems. And that can sometimes cause a situation where the victim is kind of thrown out of the community because they sought legal services. And of course, victims, and I'm speaking specifically now for victims of the refugee community, they have many different needs, right? It's not only legal assistance or criminal justice advocacy, they also may have housing concerns, employment assistance that they need, family law help, which causes them to engage with numerous different agencies, some of which are better suited to help than others. So that creates a lot of barriers.
Definitely. So how have you been able to increase access to services in those respective areas? How have you been able to kind of engage and build that trust and have individuals feel comfortable and confident knocking on your door?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've done is to, because California is so diverse, is to ensure that our services and our informational materials are accessible. So all our materials are written in plain language, and they're translated in the top languages spoken in California, and they're also available in Braille. So we try to make our information accessible so that people can benefit from the publications and then benefit from our services. We use an interpretation line. We also try to do a lot of outreach to community groups. Of course, pre-COVID, we used to do a lot of it in person. Now we're having to do some of that virtually. But we're trying to reach out to communities. We're trying to go to them, to table at their events, at their community events, at their fairs, so that they can see us and they can come and ask us questions about our services, and that we can be present within their communities. And of course, one of the things that we've tried to do is to coordinate with community-based agencies and let them know about our services so that they can refer people to us through like a warm handoff. And I find that helps build trust between the victim who's looking for help and our agency, because they feel like we're safe, right? We're an okay place to get help from because somebody from their community referred them to us. So those are some of the things that we've done to try to reach out.
Wonderful. What additional tools, if any, it sounds like you guys are doing a phenomenal job, right? Are there barriers that you as an agency have, or are there tools that you could use that would really better help you serve BIPOC populations?
Yeah, of course. We can always engage more to facilitate understanding. We're unfortunately a small team, and California is a very big state. So I think, that we need to do more engagement as service providers in general, so that we facilitate that understanding and the trust. And I think engaging with trainers and experts that specialize in issues pertaining to each of the BIPOC communities, so that we can be trained, our staff can be trained to be prepared to offer appropriate services and be as welcoming to these communities as possible and supportive as we offer services to these various communities. And try to reach out to as many agencies, community-based agencies, agencies that provide assistance within those communities, to make sure that they're aware of our services, and even try to offer services through them. That's one of the things that I've wanted to do, is to kind of have like a mobile unit where we can go out to various communities and provide services in-house in their own agency where victims feel comfortable going. So they don't have to travel to come to my agency that may be far away from them, or maybe in an uncomfortable area. And I think it would help all agencies to offer more holistic services in-house. So if you get to the point where your agency is trained, and you are culturally sensitive and you are responsive to the needs of these communities, to be able to do as much of it in-house, so in terms of their legal needs, not only focus on criminal justice advocacy, but also offer family law, also offer immigration assistance, also have a mental health provider that can provide services, maybe have somebody who specializes in public benefits. So kind of trying to keep as much of it in-house, so that when survivors do reach out, we as an agency are able to respond to their needs.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Absolutely. Incredible. Anything we missed or didn't talk about that you want to include today?
No, I think we got it all.
A lot of really
We
good
got a lot.
a lot of really good resources. And, you know, I loved what you said about there just is not a one size fits all approach. And you have to meet individuals where they are, not where you want them to be, not where we expect them to be. And sometimes that means physically going to where those communities are going to feel the safest accessing services. So brilliant, brilliant tools and resources. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think it's important just to remind ourselves, you know, as much as education and experience as we have, we're not the experts in these communities, and we need to learn. So I think that is having that mindset, you know, that we need to reach out and learn and educate ourselves so that we can offer our services and we can be a competent provider.
Absolutely. So where can folks find you? Where can people find you on the internet, phone numbers? How can people get in touch with you and access services?
Yeah, absolutely. So our hotline, 1-800-VICTIMS, 1-800-842-8467. People can call us or they can text message the hotline. We also have a website, 1-800-VICTIMS.org, where victims and survivors can access information about their rights, can find resources. We have an entire resource directory on there. They can also chat with us during our business hours on our website. They can order our publications that I referenced earlier, also directly through our website. All our services are free and we're funded by the state through a grant. So we hope that people reach out. We're here to help and support victims in any way that we can.
Wonderful. Thank you. So free, confidential, accessible, just incredible. Thank you so much for taking time to spend with us today. I know how valuable that time is. And for all of you listening or watching either now or later, we all bear a responsibility. If we're working in this field, we bear that responsibility and obligation to be culturally competent to ensure equitable access for services for all crime victims. So thank you for attending this brief Facebook Live. We will be back here on Friday talking about additional barriers and talking about victims with disabilities and how we can better serve all victims. Again, thank you so much. To learn more about the National Crime Victim Law Institute, please go to ncvli.org. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.